Tony Also Knows Boxing. I'm here to talk about what are the possible reasons why Subriel Matias lost the fight. And I'm not looking for excuses, but I'm going based on what I heard from different channels and different sources. And from what I've heard, offensive stance. I love his content. I love what he says. Everything that he talks about, you could tell there's an honesty behind his content creation. It's not like something that's a facade or nothing. You can really feel that he got his information and his resources from credible sources. And he hinted towards knowing credible sources that actually know Subriel Matias, that said that Subriel Matias was drinking and partying in Puerto Rico the night before the Liam Paddle fight. And it makes sense, like me thinking about it in hindsight, because if you look at the fight when Subriel Matias was boxing Liam Paddle, he wasn't throwing 80 combinations or 100 punches around. Like, that's what he usually does after 3 rounds or two. That's what he does. But he didn't do it. And it didn't seem like Liam Paddle hurt him at all. Like, and all Liam Paddle was doing was holding and throwing a combination. And then Subriel Matias, whenever he landed anything significant, when he started picking up the pace a little bit in the 6th round, he actually hurt Liam Paddle. You saw it in the corner. I think it was after the 6th round. You see it in Liam Paddle's face. Me and my wife were looking at each other like, wow, he's on Queer Street. Like, he looks like he's hurt. But Subriel Matias didn't pull the trigger. And I feel like that wasn't the Subriel Matias that we know. Based on how we seen all his fights, the way Subriel Matias fights, like, it makes sense that he was possibly drinking and partying in Puerto Rico, because that's the reason why his trainer, well, not his trainer, his promoter, Urango, always sent him to Mexico, because he gets distracted in Puerto Rico and he loses focus. And I truly believe that Subriel Matias was drinking and partying the night before he fought Liam Paddle, because he did not look like himself. He didn't even perform like himself. It doesn't make any sense. So I know a lot of people are probably saying, oh, why are you not giving Liam Paddle the credit? I'm not giving him the credit because he's not that good. Like, he's a good fighter, but he's not that good. And he didn't hurt Subriel Matias. I feel like Subriel Matias was gassed out, or just because he was trying to get over the hangover that he had from the day before. I think my hypothesis, and based on the sources that I've heard it from, these are credible sources that, Offensive Stance made reference to, but he didn't confirm it himself. But he did say that he got credible sources that actually know Subriel Matias and that said it to him. But, at the end of the day, I give credit to Offensive Stance. I love his content. He's a very articulate guy, brother, and he brings it with an honesty and a certain sophistication that I appreciate. And I respect his work, and I'm gonna believe what he said, but I gotta do more research. But I truly believe that Subriel Matias won't admit that he actually was doing that, if he was. So what I'm trying to say is, I don't want to defame anybody's character or anything, but I still love Subriel Matias. I'm still a fan, but I'm so disappointed in what he did. If he actually did drink before the fight and he partied before the fight, that's not something that you should be doing, especially if you're fighting for a title fight. You don't celebrate like that, and you don't even celebrate before the fight. You celebrate after the fight. But I totally think that a boxer, an athlete, a champion should never even drink at all. If you want to be totally dedicated to your career and have your best chance to win a fight. So I feel like you're hurting yourself when you do something like that. If you're gonna fight a championship fight the next day, you don't drink and party the day before. You don't do that, and you shouldn't even do it afterwards. If you're an athlete, you should be responsible, because the fans are really relying on you winning for Puerto Rico. And I feel like with Subriel Matias, he totally let down the Puerto Rican people in the island. And I still believe that he has the chance to regain what he had, but it seems like like he squandered it. Like, he beat himself. Like, Liam Paddle, I don't think he's that good. He didn't even hurt Subriel Matias. And anytime Subriel Matias stepped it up a little bit, he hurt him. So imagine if he would have threw 100 punches or 80 punches around. He should have did it. I don't know. I think that boxing is political, and there's a lot of stuff that goes behind the scenes that we don't know about. it's possible that Eddie Hearns probably paid him more money to lose the fight, but I don't know for sure, but it seems like that's the case. It might be the case, but I'm not saying it is, because I'm like, he signed Subriel Matias to a multi fight deal, and he signed Liam Pardo to a long term deal. So that's letting me know, because in the interview they asked Eddie Hearns, is Subriel Matias gonna get a rematch? He said no rematch. He blew it. I didn't actually hear it from his mouth, him moving his mouth saying that. Well, he did say there's no rematch, because he said because it was a mandatory. I don't understand how it was a mandatory if he fought before that he fought Ergashev. That was a mandatory. You're not gonna get two mandatories in a row. I just think it's political. He wanted Liam Pardo to win. It's possible that he probably paid Subriel Matias more money, and maybe Subriel Matias took the money, because Subriel Matias mentioned it in the past. If he was going to take a dive, if he would take a dive for a certain amount of money, he said it in an interview before that he would, but then he changed his mind, and then Subriel Matias said that, no, if you're going to beat me, you're going to beat me fair and square. Like, I'm not going to meet nobody at a catch weight, etc. So I heard two different variations from Subriel's mouth, but I still respect Subriel Matias. I think that I don't respect what he did. If he did that, I'm not sure. I can't say that he did do that, but it seems like it's from a credible source. All right. So you know him on a personal level to say he doesn't fix fights. You don't know that. You don't know that for sure. I'm saying hypothetically speaking. I'm saying hypothetically speaking it's possible. But if Liam Pardo beat him fair and square, it would look like it would look more obvious that he did it fair and square. But it doesn't seem like Subriel did enough. He didn't do what he always does. He didn't fight the way he normally does, and there was something off about him. He didn't look the same. He didn't look like the same fighter. He didn't throw 80 punches or 100 punches, and whenever he landed something significant, he still hurt him. So imagine if he would have threw 80 punches around. Saludo, mi hermano, frontline. Lobby CDQ. He left PBC Island. Well, he left PBC Island, but what does that have to do with him losing? I mean, Eddie Hearns is saying no rematch because it was a mandatory. Come on, man. So he signed Subriel Matias so he can fight against Liam Pardo, the one that he really wanted to win, and then now he's not gonna give him a rematch. So he's just gonna use him as a scapegoat for other fighters. I mean, Subriel Matias, if he goes to Australia, he says that he's gonna knock him out. Maybe he needs to be against the odds to actually win a fight. In Puerto Rico, he should have won it. That's what I say. Like, it really upsets me and so very disappointing that Subriel Matias lost in front of Puerto Rico and all his people. And I'm not gonna back out on him just because he lost, but he needs to, take his career more serious. And if he was drinking and partying the night before, he needs to take his career more serious, because he's 32 years old. He don't have much time. He needs to take advantage and capitalize on the little bit of time that he has to unify the belts. I think that he has a chance to beat. He has a big chance to beat Liam Pardo. I don't think Liam Pardo's as good as people are portraying him to be. I think that Liam Pardo was the guy that Eddie Hearns wanted to win. So it's possible that a lot of different things happen behind the scenes where they paid Subriel Matias more money to lose, because boxing is politics. It's about the younger guy, the guy from Australia that he signed long term. Why would he sign him long term and not sign Subriel Matias long term? I'm just thinking, outside the box for a second. Like, just put things two and two together. So if a fighter loses a fight, it's because he was drinking the day before. No, that's not what I'm saying. You're misconstruing what I'm saying. Based on what credible sources have said that actually know Subriel Matias, that he was drinking and partying before the fight. That is a possibility, because you got to think about it. When Subriel Matias fought Ananian and he lost the first fight, he went in the ring high. He was smoking weed. He even admitted it in an interview. So what makes you think that he wouldn't drink before a championship fight? If he did that when he went before his loss to Ananian, because he was thinking about whatever happened in the fight when Dadashev died in the ring against Subriel Matias. So he was going through a lot, and he was smoking weed, and he knew that he was going to lose the fight that day when he stepped in the ring, because he knew that he wasn't 100%. because he was smoking weed, he went in the ring high. So what makes you think that if he went in the ring high with Ananian and he lost for the first time, what makes you think that he wouldn't drink the night before the Liam Paro fight? He probably got overconfident and overlooked. He probably overlooked them by doing that. He may say in an interview, Subriel Matias, that he didn't overlook Liam Paro, but by him, hypothetically speaking, if he was drinking and partying the night before the fight, he did overlook him by doing that. He's probably thinking that, oh, I can still beat him if I drink and party. Like, it's not going to hurt if I party and drink the night before. That's a possibility. I'm just saying it's a possibility. But did the Subriel Matias that you saw fighting Liam Paro look like the one that beat all those other undefeated fighters before the fight? It's night and day. It's not the same person. The reason why I say that is because Subriel Matias was not the best Subriel Matias in the Liam Paro fight possibly because he was drinking and partying before the fight, the night before. That makes sense. Like, if you drink the night before and you try to perform at 100%, you're not going to be at 100%. You're not going to look the same. And it makes sense if you put two and two together. Like, why didn't Subriel Matias throw 80 punches around like the way he always does and amp it up? He hurt him when he threw anything significant. So imagine if he would have amped it up like he always fights. If you're going to fight somebody, fight the same way that you fought to get you to the point where you got to be successful in every fight. Why are you going to change the way you fight all of a sudden? I think it had to do with the fact that he was possibly drinking and partying the night before. That's my assessment. In the 7th round, he had Paro hurt. Oh, yeah. In the 7th round, he had Paro hurt. And don't go for the kill like usual. That's the thing. It's like, you know that Subriel Matias was hurting him. He didn't hurt Subriel Matias. Liam Paro is not as good as Subriel Matias. I think that Subriel Matias dropped the ball. He's irresponsible for the way, if he did that, but I think he did. He's irresponsible for that. But somebody, Offensive Stance made some good points. You should check his video out. He didn't say himself that the Subriel Matias drank and partied before the fight. He didn't say that himself. He said that he got it from some credible sources that know Subriel Matias, and he said that they said that Subriel Matias was drinking and partying before the fight. He didn't mention them, which I respect him. He brought it up, but he didn't want to throw those people under the bus, and I respect that. But at the same time, Subriel Matias is probably not going to admit that. He admitted it before about losing to Ananian because he was smoking and he was high in the ring. So what makes you think that he wouldn't do it, drink and party the day before the fight, before fighting Liam Paro? You got to put two and two together. Like, anything is possible in boxing. There's politics too. We don't even know what Eddie Hearns told Subriel Matias before the fight, because he was insinuating, that they're banking on the fight going to the decision so they could win. So Liam Paro, Eddie Hearns, who knows what they worked out? Because boxing is about money and politics. So in the rematch, you make more money if you lose the first one. So I just don't understand why Subriel Matias would do that, because if he's champion and he stays champion, he can make more money. Matias' problem is he blocks punches with his face. That right there, Matias never got hit that much by anybody before, and I think the reason why he did is because he wasn't 100% mentally prepared. He was physically prepared, but what happened was he minimized his physical advantages possibly by drinking and partying the night before. And I truly believe that that's a great possibility based on what Offensive Stance mentioned, as far as credible sources that he knows have mentioned that know Subriel Matias have mentioned that he drank and partied before the fight. He didn't mention their name, but I truly believe that is closer to the truth than a lie. And I feel like that's the thing. And a lot of people, detractors, are going to talk bad about him because he didn't take it serious the way he should have. Because come on, like, he could have got caught up with the moment, but I feel like he was celebrating too much, and then he was going at it with Progress on a FaceTime when his focus should have been totally on Liam Paro. And I feel like he was looking ahead too much too. It's possible that he got caught up in the moment and enjoyed it so much that he started drinking and partying the night before. There's a big possibility. If he was able to go in the ring high on weed when he lost to Ananian, there's a possibility that he could have went in the ring the night before. He could have went in the ring the night before. He could have drank and party right before he fought Liam Paro the next day. There's a possibility. You can't rule that out. I know it sounds like an excuse, but I don't think Liam Paro is as good as everybody is saying that he is. I just believe he held a lot. He held him a lot, Subriel Matias, in the clinches, and Subriel Matias didn't take advantage of it because I don't think he was 100% for that fight. That's not the Subriel Matias that we all knew. We all grew to love and know. He always threw a lot of combinations in between the clinches too. And whenever he landed anything significant on Liam Paro was hurt. But Liam Paro never hurt Subriel Matias. So I feel like there was something fishy about that. There was something fishy. Matias always I'm not gonna like condone that because I feel like he didn't fight the same way with the other fighters. He chose to fight like that because I guess he probably was gassed out because he was partying the night before, and you're not supposed to do that before a fight, drink and party. And I think that's a good possibility. And he made a good point about you know Subriel Matias was his inspiration to start his channel, and he's my inspiration to start my boxing channel as well. But I'm a boxing fan, so I like all fights. But Subriel Matias did inspire me. He was part of the reason why I started the boxing channel. But I'm not gonna give up on him. I believe that he could win in Australia. I think he still could accomplish his goals, but he's got to take his career more serious and be more responsible, be more disciplined. Because I just feel like a lot of it is the lack of discipline. Before the fight and his focus. That's why they sent him to Mexico a lot because his focus in Puerto Rico diminishes because there's a lot of distraction. But it's up to the fighter to be disciplined. But some people, they have a different upbringing. Some people, they don't grow up with that stability. Like Felix Trinidad had his father in his life, and he was constantly giving him discipline, and he had some structure. But Subriel Matias, he didn't grow up with his father, so it could affect you. It depends on the person, but I feel like everybody's different. But in his case, he gets distracted, and he's got caught up. He's had records. He had a record in his life, so maybe they felt like, because they kept saying it, that he gets distracted in Puerto Rico, so they sent him to Mexico to keep him away from the distractions of Puerto Rico. And I can understand that some people can't take that. This is too much. It's too much temptation. Nobody wanted the IBF when Matias had, in fact, how that he don't have the belt. Now that he don't have the belt, all the people that didn't want it now are calling Paro out. They don't like the IBF rules. Now they do. You're right. 100%. Facts. Frontline. Those are facts. And that's the hypocrisy in boxing. The Teofimo Lopez, what's this guy, Hitchinson's, saying, that he didn't want to fight because of the weight clause that they have, like 10-pound weight clause. Like, these people are hypocrites. They pick and choose why and when they want to fight somebody. And this is crazy. It's hypocrisy in boxing. Boxing is not real like the way it used to be. Anyway, so Frontline, you make a valid point. Now all of a sudden everybody wants to fight the IBF champion because it's Liam Paro. Liam Paro's not that good. All he did was jab, throw combinations, hold. But he never hurt Subriel Matias. Subriel Matias hurt him, but Subriel Matias was not 100%. You can tell because he didn't throw 80 punches around. He always does. There was something fishy about that performance. He was being a little too friendly to Liam Paro at the end. And for some reason, I feel like Eddie Hearns, he's not going to give Subriel Matias a rematch. Why? Subriel Matias gave him a chance. Why can't he give him a chance? He said, Subriel Matias said that he'll knock him out in Australia. He probably could because he defeated his first loss with Ananian when he went sober. Like I'm saying he was sober in the ring, but he was still affected possibly by the alcohol. You gotta have a hangover the next day. It's gonna affect your performance. So I feel like if he was able to avenge the loss with Ananian when he went 100% in the ring, no distractions, no partying or no drugs, he would win. So I think that he has a chance of beating Liam Paro. It probably wasn't the moment that he fought in Puerto Rico that overwhelmed him. maybe everything that was going he was going through right before the fight with Leopardo, the pressure of performing in front of his people made him want to celebrate and made him drink and party, and that could have been a combination of all that piled up on him. Matias, okay, it's not an excuse. It's a fact. Matias lost fair and square. No excuses. It's us true Matias following notice the difference and pointing it out. Yeah, we know the difference. Yeah, he lost fair and square as far as like Subriel Matias not being dedicated the way he should have. By he probably chose to drink and party the night before. It's a possibility. It's a lot of temptation. But as far as in the ring, Matias lost to Liam Paro based on what Matias brought that night, which wasn't his true representation of who Subriel Matias is when he's totally focused and not hypothetically doing something before the day of the fight, like drinking and partying. So he took advantage of that. And I feel like Subriel Matias needs to take his career more serious. It's very disappointing that he lost in front of Puerto Rico. If he beats Liam Paro in the rematch, if they give him the opportunity, if Eddie Hearns is not biased and didn't set it up where he feels that Liam Paro should win, then he would give Subriel Matias an opportunity to avenge his defeat to Liam Paro in Australia. So if he doesn't allow him to do that, then it was set up for him to just sign multiple fights for Subriel Matias to set him up as a guinea pig. And boxing is all about money, so you don't know what he paid Subriel Matias before the fight. I'm not saying that he did, but it's a big possibility. This is boxing. Boxing is corrupt, and boxing has his favorites. Especially with promoters. They signed Liam Paro, like Eddie Hearns, Matchroom signed him to a long-term contract, but he signed Subriel Matias to multi-fight deals, so it wasn't a long-term contract. So there's something fishy about that, but at the same time, if Subriel Matias is the responsible one for his loss, like him partying the night before and drinking, if that's the case, then that's Subriel Matias' fault. But if it's not because of that, if it's because Eddie Hearns made a deal with Subriel Matias and told him, if you lose this fight, we're going to give you this amount of money. And then Subriel Matias, he comes from the ghetto, he comes from an impoverished neighborhood. He might accept that. But I'm saying, I don't understand why. He could have took the high road out and say, hey, I'm going to defend my championship and win and keep defending my belt until I unify. But maybe they didn't want to make that deal with him. I don't know. Maybe they didn't want to make that deal to promote him. Maybe Eddie Hearns wanted to promote Liam Paro as the face because that's what he had him signed as a long-term contract. He didn't have Subriel Matias in a long-term contract. He had him multi-fight deals. So I'm like, something's fishy about that. But I know that was not the Subriel Matias that we all know. He didn't throw a lot of combinations. There's something not right about that. Subriel Matias is way better than Liam Paro. He just didn't perform 100% for whatever reason. And it might be those two things that I mentioned. It could be that he was drinking before the party and the night before the Liam Paro championship fight, which is stupid. That's a stupid thing to do. That's dumb if he did that. And I feel like the things that they have actually said about Subriel Matias, that he's been distracted in Puerto Rico. That's why Durango sent him to Mexico. There's got to be some weight and truth to that. So if you combine everything together and you put everything together, my conclusion is that there's a big possibility that Subriel Matias was possibly drinking the night before and partying. It makes sense if you add all the math based on what he said in the past, what his promoter Durango said from Fresh Production Boxing. He said that Subriel Matias gets distracted in Puerto Rico. That's why he sent him to Mexico. So there's a lot of things that factor in and makes you think, wow, did he get distracted the night before he fought Liam Paro? Bronx OG Facts. All right, front line. Others are saying that Matias don't want to pay the sanctioning body the title fees. Well, I didn't know that. I don't buy that because he could have vacated instead of taking an L. He could have vacated, but did his name have enough weight to actually vacate and force the other fighters to fight him? I don't know, man. Like like the belt was a little bit of a he had a little bit of weight with the belt in some sense. So I don't know if he was able to do that. But there's a possibility that he could have been irresponsible the night before the fight. I think it's more towards that. But then when you look at Eddie Hearns, the way he signed the contract with both of them, it just seemed like Eddie Hearns wanted Liam Fado to win, and it was you don't know what kind of politics took place behind the scene. He also didn't jab, but he always jabs. That's another thing. He also didn't jab. He has a jab. Seen him use it a lot in other fights. Yeah, he could have easily did the swivel jab and broke the clinching. Whenever he's always done that in the past, and he's always never been intimidated by any punches coming towards him because his offense was his defense. Once a person was holding, he would break through the clinches and throw the swivel jab and throw combinations inside the within close range. He would always do that. So in this fight, he didn't do that. I feel like there was something really fishy and there was something suspect about the way he performed in this fight and the over friendliness after the fight, the way he was so overly friendly with Liam Fado. When Liam Fado was clearly hurt in the seventh round, I saw in the corner, he was clearly hurt, and Subriel Matias didn't even land half of the punches that he would land when he throws 80. He only threw a couple. So imagine if he would have amped it up and threw more. He would have won, but he wasn't 100%. I think he wasn't 100%. That's my hypothesis. Say whatever you want, but that's not the Subriel Matias that we know. And then Tank Davis, I heard he was losing the fight before he won, and but he got him out there. So you got to give him Tank Davis credit. I didn't get to see Tank Davis fight because I was watching the Subriel Matias fight. I just didn't like the way they were trying to do Subriel Matias, because he left Showtime. Al Heyman wanted to get back at him, and probably Tank Davis wanted to get back at Eddie Hearns. So it's a lot of stuff going on behind that, but you got to give Tank Davis his credit. He won, but he needs to fight somebody like Shakur Stevenson, somebody that's really a threat, somebody in his weight class that is considered an elite. Because Frank Martin was not an elite. Let's be real. He's a good fighter, but let's be real. Who has he beaten? So I'm gonna end it like this. Subscribe to my channel, Tony Also Knows Boxing. Click like. I appreciate all the love and support. Whether you agree with me or not, this is the way I feel about it. I'm just being honest. I'm not going to turn my back on Subriel Matias, but I totally believe that if they give him the opportunity and they're fair with him, like Eddie Hearns, he will give him a chance to rematch in Australia. If he beats him in Australia and knocks him out, that's great. But it would have been better and much greater if Subriel Matias would have did it in Puerto Rico, in his home country, in front of all the Puerto Rican people. But, in this day and age of boxing, there's not many fighters like Tito Trinidad, Cotto. They were more responsible. Oh, so he wasn't losing. You're saying that Matias started out slow. Tank was not losing. He walked Frank down. Stevenson is not. You don't think Stevenson's an elite fighter? He is. He beat Oscar Valdez. He beat a fighter like Oscar Valdez was a credible champion, man. You can't take that away from him. If they don't want to fight him, that's not his fault. But he's beaten champions. If Lomachenko, they don't want to fight him, they don't want to put him in the ring, that's not his fault. But I think Shakur Stevenson is an elite champion. He is. And Frank Martin isn't. If you compare Frank Martin to Shakur Stevenson, Frank Martin is elite. He's not elite. Who did Frank Martin beat? So anyway, my whole point is, I think that Subriel Matias, if they give him a chance, hopefully he can redeem himself. But I'm really disappointed with him. It's a very big disappointment for Puerto Rico and everybody who follows him. I'm going to still support him, though. I like Stevenson, but if he was scared of the power of De Los Santos, I could imagine how he would fight against a scary power puncher like Davis. That's a good point. But you got to understand, he said he hurt his hand in the gym. So I don't know if that's an excuse, but it probably is a legitimate reason why Shakur Stevenson didn't look as good as he could have. But he still won, even though he ran more than he did any punching against De Los Santos. But I truly believe that he wasn't 100%, and he hurt his hand, but he didn't want to use that excuse, but he eventually admitted that was the case. that he hurt his hand, and he only had one hand in that fight. So for Tank Davis, we have all kind of excuses, right? When he had a close fight with Pitbull Cruz, but for Shakur Stevenson, nobody has an excuse for nobody has an excuse for it. They say, "Oh no, he lost to Pitbull. He lost to Dos Santos." Well, I feel like there's some truth to both of them, Tank Davis and Shakur Stevenson not being 100%. So, but people pick and choose what to say. Like Tank Davis is saying Shakur Stevenson should give Dos Santos a rematch before he fights Tank Davis, and I feel like Tank Davis is guilty of the same thing that Shakur Stevenson was guilty of not being 100% because he only had one hand, and Tank Davis had an excuse too, saying he only had one hand when he fought Tank Davis. So let's just stop being hypocritical and just call a spade a spade. Like, just give people the benefit of the doubt if that's the case. Even though it might be an excuse, but I feel like if both fighters have said it, it might be some credit, some credence to it, like to what they're saying. They might have a legitimate reason. So I end the video like this by saying thank you for tuning in. Tony also knows boxing. Subscribe to my channel, like, and I appreciate all the love. Take care. Till the next time.